from the Democratic National Convention in Chicago for the Center Square. I'm Greg Bishop, and we're joined right now by a state representative from the state of Arizona, who's also a delegate here at the convention, Alma Hernandez. Alma, thanks for taking time with us. How are you?
Of course, I'm happy to be here. I'm actually on the credentialing committee, not a delegate this year.
Okay.
But I'm still here and still a part of the team.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, take a step back and tell us about your experience here so far.
It's been great. It's my second convention ever. I came back in 2016 when I was a delegate for Hillary, and I'm really excited. I think the energy has just really changed the game for a lot of us. And, being here with a lot of my colleagues, but also seeing so many other like-minded Democrats that are in this building, it's just really exciting. An exciting time for all of us.
Well, talk a bit about that. Of course, Arizona has its own unique politics. Illinois has its own unique politics, and I'm sure every state has something different. What are you learning from some of your other colleagues from across the state, across the country?
Yeah, and I'm meeting, of course, with a lot of legislators from across. As you mentioned, every state is very different. They have their own issues, right? But at the end of the day, I think we're all coming here together because we know that we have to work together to ensure that we get Kamala and Governor Walz elected. So for us, we talk a lot about the issues that a lot of our constituencies care about, whether it's jobs, whether it's healthcare, education. But at the end of the day, we're all here because we know we have one job, and that is to make sure that we put all of our support and efforts behind the team. And that's why we're all here and we're excited. And of course, like I said, every state has its own issues, but we're all in this together and we have to work hard, and we are all here knowing that we can get it done, but we have to put in the work.
One thing that Chicago has been impacted by is the border situation. Illinois is not a border state, but we've been on the receiving side of 45,000 plus non-citizen migrants. Arizona being a border state, how's that impacting the race? How's that impacting the politics?
I think I was born and raised in Arizona. My mother's from Mexico, and I grew up on the border going between state lines. For us, it's, the issue is not so much about who or who is documented and who's not in our community, because our immigrant community contributes a lot to our economy in Arizona, not only in Arizona but around the country. Whether it's they do pay taxes, because there's a misconception that those who are not here documented or what would be undocumented are not contributing to society or to our taxes, and they are. I mean, they still have to pay everything like we do. At the end of the day, I think one of the big concerns for a lot of us is actually, what are we going to do to fix this broken immigration system, right? We have a system that is extremely outdated, that needs to be modernized. We have to do what we can to protect those dreamers that we have here already in Arizona, but around the country, those DACA recipients. With the new current administration executive order that was released, I guess it's going to go into effect very soon here. It's going to help a lot of families in Arizona. And those are the issues we are talking about in our communities. Like, what can we do? Those who are eligible to become citizens, how can we help them become citizens? How can we help those who are here as DACA recipients or parents of DACA recipients as well? We have a lot of people living in the shadows that have been living in our communities for decades, right? And I do believe that at least in my community where I'm from, those individuals are saying, okay, what are you going to do to help us? We care about other immigrants, but we've been here for many, many years. And I think those are the conversations that are difficult, but we're having now of we need to prioritize those individuals who are already here. Not to say that I don't care about others, but we have individuals who have been contributing a lot to our economy and our communities who are still in limbo, right? So what are we going to do to help those that are already here, rather than trying to expand and do anything differently right now? We need to focus on what can we do to help them.
We've seen here in Chicago protesters talking about the Israel-Hamas conflict in Gaza. We've seen even some over in Congress when Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed Congress with certain sentiments. How do you balance that within the party with some people who may be critical of Israel?
As one of the members of the Jewish caucus in Arizona, and as someone who not only recently led a delegation a bipartisan delegation to Israel, that issue is very important to me. As a voter as well, I will tell you that I really care about looking at the record and what people are doing when it comes to this conflict. Look, yes, the protesters have been out since the war broke out back in October 7th. But what I like to remind people is we all have the right, it's our constitutional right to protest, to have a difference in opinion. But what I don't believe is okay is for us to allow those individuals who are out on our streets right now essentially promoting a terrorist organization. That I'm not okay with. As a Democrat, I believe that we should all work together to denounce that type of rhetoric and that behavior. Because on my way here, I was talking to my cab driver, and he's Indian, and he told me, he says, I'm really worried about all the terrorism and everything that I'm seeing with these protests. And then he told me, he said, why are we blaming the Jews here for what's going on there? And I'm like, thank you. It's super important for us to differentiate between a government and our Jewish community here. It's not fair for us to have to deal with a lot of the hate and the bigotry that's coming behind all of this just because we're Jewish. So as a strong Zionist, someone who is very unapologetic about it, I always speak out when it comes to anti-Semitism and hate in our communities. It's also really important for me to make sure that my colleagues understand why we need to do what we can to bring the hostages home. Seeing yesterday that the parents of one of the hostages, who's American, by the way, were able to be given a slot for speaking here at the convention was really impactful. I serve on the board of the Democratic Majority for Israel. Our job is literally to work in Democratic primaries against individuals who are not friendly on our issue, and we continue to win. So I think it's very telling of, there are many Democrats who feel the same way that we do, but there's always that very loud minority the members of the squad and other individuals. And if you've been paying attention, that group keeps getting smaller and the rhetoric is changing. And I believe that is truly, what our Democratic Party, that's where we are. It's not that I keep hearing, and a lot of the protesters outside who are upset that they are not getting a platform on the stage. If you're coming here as an uncommitted voter, you've made it very clear that you're not supporting the ticket. Why would we allow you to come up and speak about it, right? At the end of the day, again, the one priority for a lot of us is making sure that the hostages are returned.
Alma Hernandez, a state representative from the state of Arizona here at the Democratic National Convention. Greatly appreciate you taking the time with us today.
Appreciate it.